Hi guys, it's Mrs. Slattery. I just wanted to do a quick video to show you guys lesson 8.1. So I apologize that I cannot be with you this week. I'm packing up my classroom as I told you guys, but I want you to look at this video and just pay close attention to the few things that I do, and then I want you to go on to Think Central and try the two problems that they give you on there on the Sharon Show. So for chapter 8, we're going to start multiplying fractions. So I just want to connect multiplying fractions to repeated addition and review some terms here. It says here, multiples of unit fractions. A unit fraction is a fraction with a numerator of 1. You can write a fraction as the product of a whole number and a unit fraction. Okay, so we're going to start by going back to what we did in the last chapter when we took apart a fraction and we showed that it's the same thing as adding a lot of unit or multiple unit fractions, right? So we know that unit fractions are the fraction that has a 1 on top and then whatever denominator we're dealing with. So here we're dealing with tenths. 7/10 is equal to what addition sentence, right? What what sum, the sum here, right, is made up of an addition sentence using what unit fractions? 1/10. Well, how many 1/10 make up the 7/10? 7 of them, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If we added up 1/10 7 times, we would end up with 7 of them. 7/10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Equals 7/10. So I want to connect that now to multiplying. So I'm going to take the same fraction, right? We started with 7/10. We're going to start with 7/10 again. This time it's not a sum. This time it's a product, which means that I need to multiply. Up here I was adding and I got a sum. Now I'm going to multiply and get a product, but it's going to equal the same fraction, okay? This time it's going to be a unit fraction, but I'm going to multiply it times a whole number. Well, how many 1/10 did I add up here? Do you remember? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It was 7 1/10, right? So if I added 1/10 7 times, that would be the same thing as multiplying 1/10 times 7. Okay, so this is what you're going to be doing today. You're going to be using multiplication to represent the repeated addition. They're going to ask you to come up with a whole number times a unit fraction to get the given fraction, okay? And I'll do a couple more on the next page. The next thing you're going to be asked to do today is multiples. And we did multiples of whole numbers. It's when we skip counted to come up with our lists, okay? When we did least common multiple. So now we're going to find multiples of fractions. So they're going to give you a unit fraction and you're going to have to come up with the next few terms, okay? The next few multiples. And all you're going to do is add your original unit fraction. So if I take 1/8 and I add another eighth to it, do you see down here I have add 1/8? I'm going to add 1/8 each time. It's like I'm skip counting by 1/8. 1/8 plus 1/8 is equal to 2/8. 2/8 plus another eighth is equal to 3/8. 3/8 plus another eighth is equal to 4/8. 4/8 plus another eighth is equal to 5/8. So we just listed the next 4 multiples of the unit fraction 1/8. Okay, let's try some examples. All right, it says here, write the fraction as the product of a whole number and a unit fraction. So this is what it's going to ask of you today. Write the fraction as the product of a whole number and a unit fraction, just like I did here. So they gave us 6/8. I took the whole number and the unit fraction, right? Instead of doing 1/8 plus 1/8 plus 1/8 6 times, I'm just going to do 6 times 1/8. Okay, so let's try this. If I have 2/5, my unit fraction is 1/5. Well, what do I have to multiply times 1/5 to get 2 of them? 2. Over here, I have 7/2. Well, my unit fraction is going to be half. What do I have to multiply times 1/2 to get 7 of them? 7. 7 times 1/2 gives me 7/2. Down here, I have 5/12. 1/12 is my unit fraction. What am I going to multiply by to get 5 of them? 5/12. 5. And lastly, I have 5/6. My unit fraction is 1/6. I use the denominator that I already have. Do you see? I used the denominator that I started with for all of these. And then if you look, I actually multiply it by whatever number my numerator is, right? 5 times 1/6 gives me 5/6, okay? The next thing, as I mentioned, that you're going to be doing is the multiples. Here it says list the next 4 multiples of the unit fractions. And I wrote the example from the page before where we skip counted by 1/8, right? We went 1/8 up to 2/8, up to 3/8, up to 4/8, up to 5/8. We did repeated addition, adding, right? So down here, I'm going to start with 1/4. If I add another 4th, I would have 2/4. If I add another 4th, I would have 3/4. My denominators are staying the same because I'm adding 1/4. And when I add fractions, my denominators stay the same. 4/4 and 5/4. If you wanted to switch this to 1 whole and this to 1 1/4, you could, but you can just leave these as improper fractions at this point. I just want you to get in the habit of following the pattern here. When we're listing our multiples, we're adding the unit fraction to each term, okay? Next, I have 1/6. If I add 1/6, I would have 2/6. If I added another 1/6, I would have 3/6. If I added another one, 4/6. If I added another one, 5/6. Okay? These are going to be the 2 different things that you are going to be asked to do on Think Central today. The first thing is going to be doing multiplying whole number times unit fraction. And the second thing is listing multiples. Okay, so please refer back to this video if you are having trouble. Otherwise, I will see you on Friday.